Hello everyone. This is going to be a video specifically about layering. Some of my other videos have shown like how to create a room and style a room, but I don't know if I went over layering tactics very well. So that's what this video is going to be about. I'm sorry that I sound like crap. My throat is killing me today. And someone else had noted that there is a smoke alarm that is beeping, and it is packed away, and we can't find it to replace the batteries. It's not one that's functional, like for use in our house. It's something that was packed away when we were moving, and we can't find it. So I have my tiled app open here, and what I'm going to do first is I'm going to show you the buildings layer. We're on the buildings layer right now. And things like your walls are going to be going here. Sometimes your walls also end up on the front layer, which I will show you in just a minute. So here's our top corner of our room. And the top corner of the other side of our room. I put our top of our room there, and then our sides there. And these can all be found in your tile sheet for your town interior. And you put the walls down the side, you're going to want them on the building layer. Oops, wrong tile. There we go. And then for the bottom, I'll have this one and this one. Now this is what I'm talking about with some of the walls being on the front layer. When you're making the bottom of a room, you're going to want this specific tile that has the gray behind it. Let me zoom in for you a little bit. This tile right here has the gray in the background, as you can see. These two layers, or these two tiles. So these two tiles are actually going to be on our front layer. And that is so that your character can walk along this bottom tile. Otherwise, your character will be stopped right here, and they won't be able to walk through the bottom tiles of this room. So that's why we have to have this part on the front. And then we can put our black right behind it, so they can't walk through this wall. Now next what we're going to do is we're going to do some wallpaper, and we're just going to use this football wallpaper here. And most of the time you're going to have 3 tall for wallpaper. That's what most wallpaper shows up as. If you want to have a very tall room, or possibly a shorter wall for like a separation, then you can do 2 or 4 tiles. But most tiles for wallpaper are going to be 3 tiles. There we go. The next part we're going to do is, since this room is curved at the top, we're going to have the tiles for the border. Now you can do this one of 2 ways. You can either put the bottom of your wallpaper on the building aisle, on the building layer like this, so that your character can't walk through this wall. Because if this is all back layer, then your character can basically walk up the wall, and you don't want that. The other way to do it, which I think adds a little more depth, is to use these railings that actually separate the wall itself. Like that. And that will also prevent your character from walking up through the wall. And then we'll put our flooring. And this one has a neat little thing where the very top here has shadows, so it looks like it's up against the wall, which is kind of fun. And like this. Now, right now we're on the back layer because we want our character to be able to walk over these floor tiles. And one thing we can do on tiled is we can select this, copy, and paste it. And now we've got, whoops, actually don't want to do that much of it. We want to do the, there we go, like that. Yeah. And now we have our flooring on our back layer. Once we've done that, our character can walk over this flooring. And so next for layering, I'm going to show you tables. We have some cute little tables here, and we're going to put the legs and the middle of the table on our buildings layer. And then we're going to put the very top of our table on our front layer. And that is so that when your character walks along here, they can actually use this tile and the table will show up in front of them as if they're standing at the table. And then, of course, we need some chairs around the table. So when we're working with chairs for layering, we're going to have the seat itself, like this. Or like this. And this is another reason why the table, the top layer, is on the front layer, so that we can put little chairs behind it. And if you look at it in total, then you can see that the table shows up a little bit in front of the chair, like the chair is scooched up to the table. Now we're going to take our backs of our chairs, and they're going to go on the front layer. So that way, again, when your character walks behind these, it is going to look like the chair is in front of them. And putting the seats on the building layer also allows your character to sit in them. And it's the same with couches. We'll put a little couch here. This legs and middle section of the couch are going to be on the building layer. And then this tippy top section is going to go on the front. And that means that your character is going to be able to walk on these tiles right here. And this is not going to be blocking them from using those tiles. The next one I'm going to show you is how to place things on tables. So say you want a little plant on this table here. You can put that on the front layer and it will show up on top of the table. When you put things like lamps down, and this is for the outdoor lamps as well, you're going to have the base itself on the building layer, and then you will have the lamp on the front layer. That again is so your character can walk through it, and it also helps with certain properties that allow your lamps to light up at night. They need to be on the front layer to do that. And it's the same with windows. Windows need to be on the front layer in order to be used properly for day and night tiles, which will let sunlight through the windows during the day and to look dark outside at night. And there are certain properties that you can use for that, and that's not what this video is about today, so we're not going to go over that, but some of my other videos have that. One of the ones that's kind of annoying is beds, because beds are separated into two different layers, and they are separated into different pieces. So just because pieces are connected doesn't mean that they're all going to go on the same layer. So let's go down to our little bed here. The first part is going to be the building layer. The building layer is going to contain this pillow section right here. and the footboard. And then the blankets themselves are actually going to go on the front layer. The blankets here and the very top of the footboard, these are both going to go on the front layer. And this is going to allow your character not to walk through the bed top or the bed bottom, but it is going to allow your character to go down into the bed and look like they're under the covers, basically. And then the very top of the headboard is also going to be on the front layer. And then you say, well, I want my bed up against the wall. Putting a bed or anything up against the wall does end up presenting with some challenges because, like I said, we put these wall tiles here on our building layer. And then our pillow is also supposed to be on the building layer. So if we put this here on the building layer, you can see that in the background our walling has disappeared. And you can see it right on the edges here, that there's no that golden wood color there behind it. So what you have to end up doing when you put things like that up against the wall is putting this tile onto your back layer so that it will still show up behind your bed. But your character still can't walk through it and up into the wall because you have the building layer there with the pillow on it. So there is our little bed up against the wall. And the same thing is going to be true for like dressers. Now for dressers, there are two options, and I will show you both of them if you're putting them up against a wall. If you're putting them up against a wall, you're going to want the bottom section on the building layer like that, and then the top layer on your front like that. However, if you want anything on top of your dresser, you can't do that because you won't be able to put like a plant on your front layer. Well, that plant doesn't work at all perched on top of there, does it? Let's try. There we go. See, now it's deleted the top half of our dresser, so we can't do that. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to put both the bottom and the top of our dresser on the buildings layer. And as you can see, again, that has deleted that back section of wall, and we have to put that section on our back layer again in order for it to show up behind our dresser. And then we can put things like a note or something on top of the dresser, and it will show up on top of the dresser. Another one that people like to use is counters, like the one at the saloon. And that one is another one that has to be in different layers. So the very bottoms of our counter and also the sides need to be on our building layer. Buildings. It needs to have an S, by the way. That's very important. And then the tippy tops here need to be on our front layer. And these countertops that you can walk behind and other characters can walk behind, like they can walk up to the counter, also needs to be on our front layer. So when you have this part on the front layer, you can't place anything like a book or something on top of it because it will delete that tile. However, the ones that are fully on the building layer, you can put things on. So there's our little book on top of there. Or let's put some beakers on top of there. There you go. That looks nice. And there's a couple different counters that you can do this with. This is the medical counter. the countertops will be on the front layer, and this tippy top portion will also be on the front layer. So like same as before, if you want to put something on top of this counter, you're going to have to put it on top of the area that only has the building layer on it. Couches that are front facing are the same way, but they only have 2 tiles. These ones that are sideways have 3. So the bottom layer here where your character would sit, or one of your NPCs, is going to be on our building layer, and the top here is going to be on our front layer. I'm trying to think if there's any other ones that are very important that we need to go over. These shelves are a little bit confusing. The bottom layer of these shelves will be like this on our buildings layer, but the top will be on our front layer. That's so that your character can walk along there. Now you can also put this section, this middle section, on the front, and that would allow you to move behind this entire thing instead of just behind the top section. And then your character would be able to walk both through this layer and through this layer. If you're hanging anything up on the walls, generally speaking, you use our front layer like this, especially with sconces and other lighting like this. You want it on the front layer. But you can also put things on the building layer, especially if you're going to have something like a shelf on your building layer, and then you want to have a book or something. Let me see what would be a good one. It actually is difficult to put something like that up there. This one's not a very good example, but if you find a shelving that you like, you can also put it on the buildings layer, as long as there's no as long as you put it above this tile, because if you don't put it above this tile, you won't be able to do the building layer, because it will cancel this out. So let me show that to you real quick. If you put this on the building layer down here, you'll actually delete that part of the wall. Now, if you do, like I said before, where you only have the bottom layer here of your wallpaper be the building layer, and you don't have this little border, then you would be able to put your shelving on this particular layer. And I think that's about it for my little layering tutorial. Doors. That's another one. And I'm not going to create a little wall here, but I am going to show you how to do doors. When you have a door, like this one here, you are going to have to put the very bottom tile on the buildings layer, and then these top 2 tiles on the front layer. It's actually kind of hard to see the door on this flooring, just because the door is kind of opaque and see-through, and the flooring is pretty much the same color, so it's hard to see that. But yeah, so you can see the top is on the front layer and the bottom is on the building layer. And then you would be able to use your buildings object layer to make a tile action in order to be able to use this door. You also have to add a map property in order to use that as well. So I think that's good. I think that looks pretty good for showing layering. If anybody has any questions, please give me a shout out. Rugs are something that some people have difficulties with, especially trying to place new rugs on the floor. The town interior tile sheet actually has a couple rugs, but you have to be using this specific floor in order to use them. So as you can see, I'm going to blow this up a little bit. As you can see, this rug here is supposed to be overlaid with this particular flooring. And this one is actually meant to be overlaid with the slightly darker flooring. And then there's this one which is meant to be overlaid on the stone flooring. So when you do that, you just copy this, you just select these tiles and put it on the back layer. And then now you have a rug there. If you are attempting to put a rug on a flooring that is not something conventional, like this wood flooring, you are going to have to do one of two things. Either A, you're going to have to edit the actual picture of it to show your flooring behind it, just like our tile set for this rug does with this type of flooring. Or you will have to make the rug itself so that it takes up the entire tile. So let me go back to this rug real quick. As you can see, this rug does not take up the entire tile. That is why it has the background of this wood flooring behind it. However, if you make your rug so that it takes up the entire tile, then you don't have to worry about what you put behind it, because you won't be able to see anything behind it. So it will still be able to be on the back layer, and you will still be able to walk over it. Just like, let's just use this little area here. As you can see, it takes up the whole tile, and you could just put this down, and look, we've created a cute little rug that looks like a, I don't know, metallic rug, I guess. And that is how you would get around that. It's the same thing with plants, by the way. There's a couple different plants for your house that have different tiles. They have more than one tile. So your pot itself, the one that's going to be sitting on the floor, is going to be on your building layer, and your plant top is going to be on your front layer. And that's also what makes it great about putting things next to each other, because you put this pot next to this lamp and you say, well, yeah, but if I do that, it deletes my lamp. And then it doesn't look like there's a lamp behind it. And that's why you put it on the front layer. Now your character still won't be able to walk through this tile because there is a building tile there with the lamp post. But your character is not going to need to walk through here unless you've completely blocked off an area by doing that. And they can still walk along this tile here behind this lamp. And I think that's about it for this little tutorial. Like I said, if you have questions, give me a shout out.